Hello and welcome to Wholesale Nation podcast. This is Andre King.
And I'm Andy Speed.
And this is our first actual podcast. This is podcast number 1 for us. And this is something that we've been thinking about for a long time and finally got this thing up and going. I think we've been thinking about this for 6-7 months?
It's been a long time coming, but I'm excited that it's here. Yeah, it's been probably 6.
Yeah. So the whole purpose of today is we just wanted to talk about what Wholesale Nation is going to be about. What are the shows in the future are going to be about? And for most people, if you've never heard of wholesaling, Andy, you want to explain what exactly wholesaling is, and for those that may not know?
So most people have heard of flippers. It's everything involved in a flipping business. Essentially, it's just marketing and sales. You're marketing for a distressed property or distressed seller. You're negotiating a price with that seller, getting the property under contract, and that's an assignable contract to a third party. And then essentially you just market that property, or market the contract rather, and assign the contract for a fee to an end buyer.
All right, perfect. So it sounds like we're like middleman or something like that, right?
That's exactly it.
Is that what it is?
Easiest way to explain it.
Perfect. So we're just not there negotiating deals and making the money in the middle. So that's what wholesaling is in a nutshell. And so this business has kind of what's the word I can say? An easy barrier of entry, or a very low barrier of entry. Absolutely. Is what this business. And so because of that, you get just about anyone started and saying that they're a wholesaler. Like today, someone can just raise their hand and say, "Are you a wholesaler?" Yes. You can be a wholesaler right now, right? You don't have to have any license. Like what type of license do you have to be a wholesaler, by the way?
Absolutely none.
None? All right. So no license or anything, no business license or anything like that. LLCs, do you have to have all that stuff to be a wholesaler?
Sure don't.
Okay. So if I raise my hand right now and say I am a wholesaler, then that's what I am today, right?
You need some cardboard and a magic marker.
That's all you need to get this business started. So because of that, then people get started and they call themselves a wholesaler, but they may not know exactly how to run the business. Right. All right. And so that's where Wholesale Nation came from. Andy and I have been doing this for a little while, and we'll kind of go through our backgrounds. But this Wholesale Nation was brought up for that reason, right? We wanted people to be able to come into this business and do it the right way. All right. And, I know, Andy, you had been doing this for a while also, and you probably saw some of the things that were out there, right? Where people were doing this the wrong way.
Right. Well, when I started, wholesaling was a 4-letter word.
Right.
So everybody dogs on wholesalers in our market. And there's no deals out there. These wholesalers this, these wholesalers that. So in reality, it's just a flipper not willing to do the work.
Right. And the thing is that when that happens, for those who are out there wholesaling, especially like us, it gives us all a bad name. And that's not what we wanted, right? We wanted to continue to have a good name out in the marketplace, and we wanted to make this a profession versus just a gig or, just a side hustle.
And that's where Wholesale Nation came from.
Right.
It's wholesalers helping wholesalers. We recognize that it's not the information in this business that helps you succeed. It's the taking action, the accountability. It's getting out there and doing the simple process. And it really is simple.
Right.
It's just so simple that it gets complicated.
Yeah,
to get it done.
Yeah, and that's basically what it boils down. It's so easy that it's so easy to kind of do it wrong also. And so we've saw it done wrong long enough that we decided to do something about it. And, whether it takes one person that actually hears this and makes a change, it helps us, right? And so, with Wholesale Nation, we actually put on a monthly podcast here in Houston that we put on the first Monday of each month. And that's where it all started. We started talking to a group of wholesalers in Houston, and we basically just went through exactly what it takes, A through Z, from the time that you get the concept in your mind and get the mindset of wanting to be a wholesaler till you start to send your first marketing to talking to sellers. And then from there, how to scale the business and all that kind of stuff, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what this, Wholesale Nation was about from our meetup. And we decided to just take that, to the world. Right. And so be able to talk to other wholesalers and real estate investors just across the nation. And we found that, the best way to do that is through social media and through podcasts. Okay?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So, before we get started, though, and, I'd like to, let Andy go ahead and really formally introduce himself, kind of explain, where he came from and exactly how he got started in this business.
Where am I starting? Am I started at the beginning?
Start at the beginning. So you were born?
I've been in this business 4 years full time. I came from corporate America. I was the U.S. supply chain manager for a pipe manufacturing company. So my responsibilities were logistics, inventory, purchasing, and I'm missing one, production planning and scheduling.
Okay.
So I had the 4 departments.
Snooze fest.
3 facilities. And what it was is I was 8 years into my career and I was unhappy.
Right.
So I had achieved all of the goals that I'd set out to achieve. And I look around and I'm just miserable. I was making more money than I'd ever made in my life, had more responsibility. I mean, I loved what I did.
Right.
There was nothing wrong with that, but I knew the only place for me to go was just the same role to a larger company.
Okay.
So it's either just take on a lot more responsibility and get out of the things that I really liked, which was the nitty gritty of the operations and production planning and scheduling and inventory specifically. And so just real estate started catching my eye. And then ironically enough, my brother gave me a call one day when I was playing around on HAR, our MLS here in Houston, just looking at houses. That's what I did for about 2 hours a day.
Right.
He said, "Hey man, I'm thinking about getting into real estate. What do you think?" I said, "That's a coincidence because I've been thinking about real estate as well." And then, a few months later, I was pretty comfortable where I was at. I got laid off. So I'd never been laid off before. Every company that I'd ever been to was going through massive layoffs while I was there. It was the first time that I was a part of one. And it just left a sour taste in my mouth because not only did I meet every goal that was ever given to me, I exceeded every goal that was ever given to me.
Okay.
And we're talking hitting the one goal that was given. This is what you have to hit, plus saving them $1 million.
Okay.
And this is a $30 million company. That's the equivalent of $100 million in sales.
Wow. So you, by that time, were you a millionaire at that point?
I didn't make any of that. I was on the cost side of the business.
Right.
So being in operations, I was an expense and not necessarily someone that made the money.
Right.
But so I took, I guess I got laid off in November. I took 4 months off. In February, I went to a 3-day seminar.
Okay.
And, my brother and I signed up. We said, "Hey, this is for us." We jumped in and I've had it ever since.
Okay, perfect. And so I guess when you were on the job, you felt like you had hit that glass ceiling also?
Yeah.
All right. So you got there very quick. And did you look around? Because I know a lot of people that are on the job, and it sounds like you really like what you did. But then they look around and it's like, okay, the people that are around me, they're not where I want to be in life, right? Did you run into some of that also?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes that can get a little depressing. And the thing is that it's good that, some people, Andy saw that at a very young age. It's like, hey, it's time for me to make a change. But there are some people out there that, it may be that you're 50, 60 years old and you decide that you finally see that, but it doesn't mean that you can't get started in any type of business and really make the change, right? If you look at somebody like Sam Walton, I think he was like, 63, like 60 something years old. And now look at Walmart today, right? So it doesn't matter the age that you get started. You just have to decide to get started, right?
Absolutely.
And so for me, I was a little bit different, right? I worked in the gym industry for the last 14 years. I was a general manager at a national healthcare chain. And, just like Andy said, I really like what I did, right? We got a chance to change people's lives through fitness. And, I saw some amazing transformations and some life-changing things while I was there. And it was a fun environment. Most people that come to the gym are upbeat people, right? They're usually not just, coming in moping. They may come in moping.
Maybe when they're coming in,
yeah.
When they're leaving, they got endorphins.
Right. So when they come in, they may be, but when they leave out, they're very excited. So it was a good environment, right? It was kind of upbeat environment. And just like Andy, I was able to move up very quickly. I was able to, win a lot of incentive trips and things like that. But I just always knew that there was more, that I wanted to do more. Right. And so I was looking at one of the, flipping shows one night, and it was actually called Flipper Flop. And I got hooked on these shows. And most of the people that see these shows, you watch a show and it's like, hey, realtor called me and told me about a house. So I went and looked at it, and they bought the house and they flipped it and made like $150,000. Right. And I was
bought it for 200.
Yeah.
Put 50 into it. Sold it for 300.
Right.
50.
And did all that in 30 days. Right. So I was like, how do I do that? Sign me up. Right. And so, but then I quickly realized, okay, I don't know if I really like the transformation of the houses and things like that. But on one of the episodes, after I'd watched like the whole season, they had a house where they bought from a wholesaler. And they said, hey, had a guy call me. This guy's a wholesaler. He brought us the house. We paid him a $10,000 assignment fee. Okay. And I was like, what? And I was like, well, let me rewind. And so that's what I did. And I looked, I said, what? So then I started Googling. I got out and, Googling and said, hey, what is wholesaling? And when I did that, like all these people started coming up, all these gurus and things like that started popping up. And I got on some YouTubes and started just researching, what is this? What is this? And so after I figured it out, they said, okay, well, you got to start doing some marketing. You have to send out bandit signs. You have to do direct mail. And I started from there. Right. And, and that's how it all got started. Right. So mine started from a television show, and then I went to action and then was able to get the business started from there. It took me about 3 months or so to get my first house under contract. But
you have an interesting first 3 months to your business.
Yeah.
Should we go through that now, or should we?
Yeah, we can go to it now. So for me,
You started off like a lot of people writing
Yeah.
letters. I've done that too.
yeah, now I wouldn't recommend it because I know what I know now. But see, at the time, I didn't know what I didn't know. So that's why I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah, what's interesting about it is you did what you needed to do.
Right.
I mean, personal accountability. You did exactly what you needed to do to achieve the results you desired.
Right. And for me, it was, I did not have anyone that I knew in this business that had proof of concept at the time. So all I had was Google telling me that this stuff was real. Okay. So from a financial standpoint, I didn't really see that, hey, if I go and put all this money into marketing, then I'm going to get it back because I didn't have any proof of that. Right. So what I did was I took whatever little money that I had and I said, okay, well, I guess it works. My wife's looking at me as like, well, if you think it works, so what we started doing is we decided just to open up a print shop in the house. Right. So we started handwriting yellow letters and everything and trying to get these things out because we were looking at a cost savings. Right. We weren't really looking at time savings.
I don't know if this works. Let me do it the hard way.
Right. So we did it the hard way. But the main thing is we did it. Right. So, my wife was, she had the better handwriting. And so we said, okay, if we can do 25 of these letters, stuff them and put them in the mail, then we can hit X amount in a month's time. All right. What we didn't factor in is that we would get carpal tunnel somewhere in between there. And so, right. We would have medical bills and things like that. So we say, okay. So I finally got smart, got back on the internet. Right. And said, so what else could you do besides writing? And I guess somebody said, idiot, why don't you use your printer on your computer? And so that's what I ended up doing. And so I started making my letters on the computer and print them out, yellow letters. I started doing postcards and put them in the mail, and also started doing bandit signs. But the funny thing is I got my first deal. It didn't come from a paid marketing source. I got it from Craigslist. I was just putting out some what you call like ghost ads, I guess you can say, onto Craigslist. And it was just, hey, we buy houses. And a guy called me off of that. And I went to go look at the house and was able to get the house on the contract. And it really didn't, all it cost me was my wife's time because she was the one that was actually doing it.
It's very valuable.
Yes, very valuable. So I actually made a lot of money on that one because I didn't put any time into it. But yeah, so that was my story to getting my, getting my first deal. But what about you? I know that at that time you had a partner at the time also.
So I did. We joined, my brother and I joined Fortune Builders in February.
Okay.
A lot of great information, a lot of great content. Wish I would have known all that information was out there for free. But we did everything wrong. Everything you can possibly imagine we did wrong the first year and a half of our business. I was going to say 6-8 months, but it was a lot longer than that.
Right. What would you say that's the main thing that you did wrong?
We didn't take action.
Okay.
So we
that's a big one.
An extreme amount of time learning. So mind you, we were full-time in this business. So I had no other job. All I had was, core curriculum from, the program that we just bought to go through, and then some homework from them. We blew through that extremely fast.
Okay.
But we still took 6 months learning.
Wow.
And not taking action. So by the time it was time for the mailers to start going out, we were already starting to get burned out. Like, this doesn't work.
Right.
We didn't work.
Yeah. No
was
proof.
the problem.
Yeah.
So, and we set out to be flippers. We were taught, and it's not necessarily from the program that we bought, but just the network that we had was you start off wholesaling, you get into flipping, then you become a landlord.
Okay.
And so we were going to bypass the wholesaling. We had a pretty good network, and we could possibly self-fund if it was the right deal.
Right.
But yeah, 6 months, first deal came off. It didn't even come from our marketing. It came from word of mouth.
There you go.
So a family member knew a friend that was selling that had a distressed house that they didn't want anything to do with it. We went over there, made them an offer, and ended up taking the property down. So ironically, I would have called myself a flipper for the first year and a half, 2 years, 2.5 years in this business. But I did quite a bit of wholesaling as well. That one, it was our first deal, went through hard money, bought the house. We were going to flip it, and it was in Ponderosa Forest. So it's in a flood area of Houston. We got nervous, so we sold it. So I wholesaled it, even though we owned it. I wholetailed it.
Right.
Didn't put it on the market because I didn't want the lady that I bought it from to know that we were going to sell it for a profit without doing any work to it.
Right. So you were wholesaling by mistake.
Wholesaling by mistake. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So got a little scared. Sold it to a wholesaler. He turned around, wholesaled it to another person. They turned around, wholesaled it for another $3,000. So it was $6,000 and $3,000 on the tail end of what we left on the bone, and we still made $32,000.
Wow.
So left a lot of meat on the bone for the end buyer. That house has flooded probably 3 times since then. It's probably going to be taken out here pretty quick soon. But
okay.
But yeah, that's how we got started. Spent the first year and a half, or 2.5 years rather, flipping and wholesaling as a byproduct of bad marketing, and it was
Yes.
wholesale now.
So there's a couple of interesting things that you said there that I want to talk about. So number one, you said that when you were taught in the beginning, it was like a step process, right? You start with wholesaling, then you go to flipping, and then you become a landlord, and then you maybe go buy multifamily at that point, right? What do you feel about that now?
The logic is to show your lenders that you know how to buy a house. So
Right.
if you can contract a house and then sell the contracts, clearly there was a value spread in there.
Right.
And that's why we were told to wholesale first, not necessarily from a lack of capital, but to go back to your question, I mean, it's a completely different business model. There's no reason why wholesaling needs to be first, then flipping, then becoming a landlord. If you want to be a landlord, go be a landlord. There's no reason for you to build out what we have with a team of 12 and all of this infrastructure and overhead. There's no reason for that. You just want to buy houses.
Right.
You need to get your financial house in order.
Or go to find a way to buy houses without any money. Like maybe you need to do some type of seller financing or something like that. You need to get creative with it. But if you want to be that, then don't allow not having the capital. Don't allow the time. If you're saying, hey, I don't have time, then you need to leverage someone else's time, right? Those are all excuses that stop people from getting started, right? And so I think that's where some people, you hear them, just like you said, there's some people, they think it's, hey, I start here and then I progress here. But if that's what you really want to do, then go find a way to get it done, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, there was another thing that you said, there at the end, I can't, it's kind of slipped my mind now.
Possibly the byproduct of bad marketing.
Yeah, that wasn't it, but we'll come back to it. But it was something on those lines. But, sometimes that will happen, right? I started off in the wholesale business, and the reason why I started, because it was something that fit naturally for what I did, because in the gym industry, a lot of times, most of the times that a person came into the gym, they had a real reason that they wanted to join a gym and buy personal training and things like that. They just didn't want to lose weight, right? Something that happened in their life that had caused them to want to come in. And we had to find out what that was, like what was the real reason. And a lot of times it's either someone just passed away really close to them, that had a heart attack, the doctor told them something, they just got a divorce, something happened that made them come into the gym. And those are the people that they also came in, they bought personal, they invested into their, into their livelihood and into their wellness and health and wellness. And they spent a lot more because, they had a real reason for coming in. And we were just basically connecting those people to what they needed. So some of those people needed to just get a membership. Some people needed to come in and we hook them up with some of the aerobics classes. Some people we hook them up with personal training, right? And wholesaling was exactly the same thing. I go in, we figure out exactly what's going on with the person, their real reason for selling, and then we provide the solution. Some people we sell the property to a landlord. Some people we sell it to a flipper, some to owner finance people, right? And then there are some people where maybe they don't want the money all up front, and we come up with a solution for that. So with wholesaling, I found it natural for me, and that's why when I looked at flipping and things like that, I said, yeah, I can do that, but I see where I would add more value for what I've been doing, starting and being in that wholesale space, and that's how I got started. Okay. And then,
so tell me about how Draco started then. So
yeah, so then, my I'll go over name.
No, our wholesale company is called Draco Properties,
right?
And
so I'll go over how Draco got started. So Draco was the name of the company, and so I have one of those unusual spellings of my name, right? And my first name is Andre, and it's spelled Undrea. And if you Google that, in most cases you will get me because it's a little different spelling.
It's like one of you.
Right. And most people, when they see my name before they see me, they say Andrea, right? Andrea. But they say it in a kind of like it's a girl's name, and then I always have to correct them. And so I've done that for like 40 years, right? And I said, okay, when did
you just tell your age?
Yeah, I told my age. But I said that, but the reason I said that was because, because I experienced it, I wanted to have a junior, but I didn't want my kids to have to tell people that over and over and over, right? It's Andre. So what I did was we said, okay, let's come up with something that's, masculine, but at the same time, it's real easy. Okay. And I said, well, most people call me Dre for short. And so we decided to put son at the end of it. So it becomes Dre's son instead of a junior. Right. So I still accomplished the same thing. But then I got Dre's son, and then my next son, we call him Draylon. And then we decided, okay, if we open a business, we're just going to call it Dre's Company, that's short for Draco is short for that. And that's how all that got started. Right. And outside of that, wasn't much more brain power put into it. We didn't put a lot of time into it. That just came naturally. And that's what I would tell anybody that's getting started. you can always change that, right? Unless you really like put a lot of time into your branding, you can always change that. I went and got started. I got that name and then started working from there. I don't even think I had any business cards in the beginning.
You can change it even if you put a lot into your branding, because brand means nothing in this business.
It means nothing. And my first business cards was printed out also. I just got some cardstock paper and cut them out.
No, I mean, we waited.
You waited?
We had like 4 different revisions of our business card before we even handed our first one out.
Right. And so there are people that do that. You don't have to wait. You don't have to have business cards all done up. You just need to get started.
Yeah, we'll go through the mile-long list of mistakes that we've made.
Right. And that will, like I say, that'll be part of the shows. We'll talk about some of the mistakes we made and some of the things that we've done well. But Andy, you want to talk so you and I met in a mastermind, right?
So we've been a part of nearly every education program that's out there.
Combined, yes.
At least most of the ones that we've come across. Definitely a believer in education. We do learn and gain something from each one. But yeah, I was a flipper. You were a wholesaler. We met in a mastermind that we both joined. Mm-hmm. And, we started spend a little bit more time together.
Right.
And then, doing some marketing stuff, doing the weekend retreats and, talking about our business, did some masterminding on the side.
Right.
And then it just seemed more and more, I think, about a year into that mastermind, you said, hey, what do you think about just partnering up?
Before we even got there, the first thing I said was, who is this guy?
Oh, yeah.
And why is he, like, every time we talk about marketing, he's like doing a little bit more than what I'm doing. And I said, okay, I can't let that. I kept telling my wife, there's a guy and I got to mark on him. All right. I got to do more than what he's doing because they keep talking about this Andy guy and I need to be the guy. Right. And so Andy never knew that.
You showed up and it was just like, bam, 600 calls. What?
I said, I have to beat that. Right. And so that's how it all got started. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know I had a target on my back.
Right.
But I mean, you'd casually mentioned, hey, what do you think about partnering?
Right.
And, I hadn't even thought of it as an option. I just was so blinded by the fact that our businesses were so different. I'm flipper, you're a wholesaler. They don't overlap.
Right.
About a year later, I started switching up my marketing, doing a bunch of bird dogging and driving for dollars. And I had some teams out there. And I started to notice the response from the marketplace, or the sellers rather, was very different than what I'd seen in the past. I wasn't reaching out to people before. They were only, responding to my marketing that I put out there.
Right.
But I was seeing a lot of people that wanted to sell, but they didn't fit something that I could do with it. Either the margin wasn't there or just the seller themselves. They didn't fit in a wholesale model, in a flip model. They weren't going to allow me to make the margin that I needed in order to feel secure.
Right.
Getting a loan on that house. So that's when I reached out to you and said, hey, I'm thinking about adding on a retail side. You're generating a whole bunch of leads. Is there some collaboration that we can do? And that's where it started. And then ultimately it ended up in partnering.
Right.
Like a month later?
Yeah, like a month later. Because at first I was calling you for like retail deals and things like that. And to go look at, I was trying to monetize my leads, and then it just spun off from there. And I think, what I found is when you find somebody that has the same mindset and growth mindset and abundance mindset, then you say, okay, well, we work very well together, right? And I saw it as a compliment to each other, and that's how it all got started. From there we were able to grow out the business.
We played a game called Fire Andre for the next 8 months.
Yeah. And continue to try to do that. But but it started off is that, it's we did a little bit at a time, right? So Andy, you were going out and seeing properties. I was doing dispositions. Up until then, it was just me and I had a transaction coordinator.
Lead manager as well.
Yeah, and a lead manager. Yeah, so then, actually.
You hired mine.
Yeah.
Which was also strange because she worked for me before and you told me that you were hiring somebody full-time. She worked for me part-time. Right. So it said, hey, she's working out for me. Why don't you go ahead and interview her and see what happens?
Right. And that's how it all got started. And so she became a lead manager. She was answering the phones. And, for those that don't know what a lead manager does, but she was basically sourcing our leads and doing some of the follow-up calls and things like that, but setting appointments for Andy as he went out. I was selling the properties, right? So as he went out to look at the properties, I would sell the properties. And of course, we had a transaction coordinator that would go ahead and take the deal to close. And then after that, we decided to hire dispositions. The dispositions is just the person that took that job that I was doing and started selling our properties. And we just grew it from there. We started adding acquisitions, and we were able to fire Andy from the acquisitions. And then we just grew it from there. And that's what this is really all about is, how do you go from just getting started in this business to scaling it and growing it out so you're able to step away from the business and do some higher level things. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
So walk us through what Draco looks like.
So right now, Draco, we have...
myself.
Yeah, so So we have a lead manager now who's taking care of the phones and things like that, and doing some follow-up, killing it on follow-up. She's one of the best, so don't try to call and try to take her or anything like that, but she's one of definitely the best that's out there. We have an assistant. One of the things we realized is that we were doing a lot of tedious things and small things, and we wanted to get our time back so that we could use our time and be more effective with our time. And so we hired an assistant to be able to help us out with a lot of the tasks that's just basically takes all of our time, or we just hate to do it, right? But we have to do it as business owners. We also have 2 acquisitions that go out and see our properties. We have dispositions that's selling our properties. We have one VA in the Philippines that's doing like sourcing of leads, some of the hard to find and niche leads. She's working through that, or anything else we need her to do. We also have a couple of cold callers in the Philippines that are making phone calls for us here in Houston, and now we're moving to other cities also. And then we have a cold call room here in the office that's basically calling. So
4 or 5 cold callers working for us right now.
Right.
2 more that we're hiring in Mexico.
There you go. So we're trying to expand, right? So the whole thing here is that the first vision that we had was to start a wholesale business, but also be able to grow outside of the Houston area and be able to buy just about everywhere and be nationwide. And now we see that's a possibility now that we've added on the cold callers. Okay.
Possibility. It's reality.
It's already happening.
Happened yesterday.
There we go. So it's already happening. So that's what Draco looks like. And we look forward to, over the next, months to come. We're going to be doing this podcast, and the podcast is going to be to where we're going to be interviewing also. So you're not just going to hear just Andy and I every time. All right. We're going to have it to where we're able to, you can hear from us once a week, and we want to have a guest once a week. Okay. So whether that guest is here locally or nationally, we just want to talk to, new and experienced wholesalers that are out there so that you can get a perspective of what other people are doing out there in the marketplace. Right. And we'll get some of our friends here in the Houston market, because we have some great investors here that are doing some big things also. And we also got some new people that's just getting started, but having success. And we like to show it all, because sometimes if we've been doing it for a while, you forget some of the things that you used to do. Right. I had one of the guys that is experienced that was talking about our meetup, and he was saying, man, every time I come, I always take away some notes. And some of it is just, I stopped doing it. It was something that I was doing. I just stopped doing. Right. And that's something that we all do. We stop doing the things that were working because we get the next shiny object and the next shiny object, and you forget about it. Right. Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the other things we're going to be doing, for the podcast?
Let's go through our wholesale business. Go through it start to finish.
Right.
What we've learned, what we do well.
Right.
Because we do some things better than probably most wholesalers that are out there.
Right.
And it's where, you're going to be great wherever you focus. But we focus on some things that are a little bit different operationally that sets us aside from most wholesalers.
Right.
One, we answer the phone.
There you go.
Somebody calls us, we answer the phone. These aren't going to be like mind-bending proprietary information. It's just we answer the phone every time.
Right. That bothers me the most. You put all that money out on a bandit sign, and then you don't get a phone. And a lot of times the person's just out of business before they get to take the first phone call. Yeah. Right. And so
don't be that guy.
Yeah.
So
that's actually going to be one of our segments.
That's the segment. Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy. I call bandit signs. I drive the city, and it's been something that I've done since I've been in this business. Mm-hmm. The guy that I sold my first house to, he called me off a bandit sign. So I saw it as an opportunity to build relationships with other investors in the market from an early position. But I'll call 10 bandit signs in a day, and maybe 3 will answer.
Right.
Maybe that's like a good day. Most will say another 2 will call back, but it's more like 1 or 2 will answer and 2 or 3 will call back. So still 50% of the people that put signs out there that took the time, took the money, they broke the law.
Right.
And they're not going to even answer the phone.
So what you're saying is the competition that you think is out there is not real.
It's all in your head.
It's in your head.
The only real estate or competition that you need to matter is the real estate between your ears.
There you go. And so we'll be talking about that. That's don't be that guy. So I think that'll be a fun segment, because I can think of so many things. So we're going to save that, because I can think of so many things to talk about on that part right there. And then I guess the last thing that we want to cover was we also do this as a monthly meetup.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we do a monthly meetup. It's the first Monday of each month. If you're, for those that are in the Houston market, or if you're coming through the Houston market, you're definitely welcome to come out. But it's kind of the same things we're going to be doing on the podcast, except where we do this face to face. We go over a topic each meetup, and it's basically the same thing. It's try to help wholesalers learn how to do this the right way. And we give everything. We open the curtains up. Like if I was opening and going behind this wall over here, it's the same thing. We open it up and let you it's not even a peek in. We just open it up and say, walk in, right? We give you every single thing that you need in order to be successful in this business. And how much do we charge for that? Is it 10,000, 20, 50?
Absolutely free.
It's free. Okay. You sure?
I'm sure.
Okay. I'm just making sure. Yeah. So it's free. It's free. We give it away free. And not only that, I think
it's not free for us. It costs us about $1,200-$1,300.
Yeah, because it does cost a little money, and we feed you and give you a few drinks, right? That we like. It keeps us sharp. Anytime that you're teaching or going over something, I think that the way that we get it back is that it keeps us sharp, right? And so we remember, okay, when we put together these presentations, like, okay, now we need to make sure that we're continue to stay on this, right?
Absolutely.
And so it definitely keeps us sharp. And
the highest form of learning. Teaching.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work, but we get it done because at the end of the day, we're still running a wholesale business, right? We're not in a space to where we're like, this is all that we're doing. Like we're running a wholesale business and this is something that we're doing pro bono, I guess you can say. Okay.
It's incredibly rewarding to see somebody that is gone from not even knowing what wholesaling is to getting their first deal in a matter of 60 days.
Yeah.
That is incredibly different than my story.
Right.
I mean, it was 7 months before our first closing.
Yeah.
People are going 2 months, and I had
most people would have quit way before that.
Yeah, I had a pretty massive little nest egg getting ready to go, and I still couldn't get it done. So yeah, absolutely. So,
but with that said, far as like I said, the rest of these shows, definitely want to tune in. All the usuals, the iTunes, Stitcher, and all that good stuff. So you'll be able to find us there. This show, far as the days, that'll be coming out on what days that it's going to be out. That's still be determined. The way that we work, we just do stuff, right? We just do it, right? And then we kind of figure it out as we go. And that's some of the times that's what you have to do as an entrepreneur is just do it and figure it out as you go. So we'll be coming out with the days that we're going to be airing these podcasts. And but for the most part, like I said, it will be whether it's a studio guest or a Skype guest or it will be just us talking, right? And going through categories. But far as today, this is what we wanted to cover. We wanted to let everybody get a sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about, a little bit about us. But before we sign out, Andy, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I sure don't. Twice a week will be at least twice a week.
Right. Yeah, at least twice a week we'll have it going.
Do we need to remind to like and subscribe?
Yeah.
I guess we already did. I
just
did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll be able to like and subscribe to Wholesale Nation. You can go to our Facebook group at wholesalenation.com, our Facebook page at wholesalenation.com. If you are a buyer wanting to get on our buyers list, you can always go to dracoproperties.com and to get onto our buyers list.
If you're in the Houston area, come out to our meetup. We'd love to meet you.
Right. Yeah. Come out, take a look and, see what we have going on. We look forward to it. But with that said, we want to thank everyone for listening today. Y'all come back now. You hear?